All right, guys, welcome back. It is Divisional weekend here in the NFL, and we got some stuff going on, so let's go right on into the news and notes. Doug Peterson says Foles is, quote, definitely feeling more comfortable. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson says Nick Foles has adjusted into the starting quarterback role heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, we've talked quite a bit about Philly's situation, and I know we talked, whether it was last week or the week before, about Nick Foles especially, and I think there's probably not a better backup quarterback out there who has success like Nick Foles does. When Wentz went down when he did, it gave Foles, 3 or 4 games under his belt to get ready now for the playoffs. Basically, they're going to be facing an Atlanta team who's playing their best football. Their defense is playing the best that it's been all year, and the offense did enough to go on in a tough environment and go and win at Los Angeles or at the Los Angeles Rams on the road. I think your dad actually picked Atlanta to win right now they're playing the best football. And now knowing that Foles is the quarterback, I think Atlanta has a great shot at winning that game.
Yeah.
And then
first time in history that the number one seed's an underdog.
It's exactly so. And then Atlanta, Atlanta was a 6th seed, so they're going to have to go on the road throughout. But with that being said, if their defense played like it did last week against Nick Foles, then they have a great shot at winning. So. But Philly's at home. They're hungry. They haven't had a big game like this in years, and I think it's going to be a great game. But with that being said, Nick Foles has to come to the party because he's playing a great defense.
ADP is going to be at that game. Cowboys O-line coach leaves to join Bengals. The Dallas Cowboys continue their staff changes with line coach Frank Pollock not returning in 2018.
Well, all I don't know who he is individually, but they notoriously have had one of the best offensive lines down in Dallas, for the past 3 or 4 years. So whether or not this guy had a lot to do with it, obviously he's no longer there. And I definitely believe that if he does half as good a job he did down with Dallas with his new team, then it's going to be an improvement.
Titans to play 2018 road game against Chargers in London. The Titans will make their first trip overseas when they play a road game against the Los Angeles Chargers at Wembley Stadium in London in 2018.
We've talked a little bit about this. I played San Francisco played this game in 2010 against Denver, and the biggest thing is losing a home game, for the home team. So it sounds like the Rams are going to lose a home game. It's not a good.
It's not the Rams. It's Titans and Chargers.
Chargers are going to lose a home game. Chargers don't really care because they're home. They don't really have much of a home field advantage because their fan base is struggling. So it's the only people that are excited about these trips are owners. Logistics wise, it's a pain in the ass to move a whole operation to another country for a week. Whether or not either team's going to do that or just make it a long weekend. But, I'm not in favor for games in London or putting games in there. I don't think that. I think by this time you can kind of get a feel whether it's something that would be successful. They've been doing this now for close to, 12, 13 years, playing over in London. And whether or not they put a team over there or not, I don't think it's something that's favorable to the players and the coaches and the staff.
So Doug Marrone, Steelers have, quote, most talented roster that we play. The Jaguars know that beating a loaded Steelers team in Pittsburgh twice in one season is a huge challenge, but they've done it before.
Yeah, I think that this is setting up well for Jacksonville, and I think earlier this year they beat them pretty handily. I think it was like 38-6 or something like that. Roethlisberger had 5 picks, and they were saying Roethlisberger was done and all this stuff, and it was more of a shock at the time that Jacksonville went into Pittsburgh and beat Pittsburgh. I think that bodes well for Jacksonville because I know they can do what they already did at that season. So with that being said, I think it's going to be a hell of a football game, and I hope obviously Jacksonville wins, but I think it's going to be close, and I think this is really the X factor in this is Antonio Brown to see how he has recovered. After having 4 weeks off from the
3, I think.
3 weeks
well,
off.
Four, including this 4 leading up to the game.
Yeah, so we'll see how his calf is, but Jacksonville's defense is extremely good. They get slaughtered by San Francisco, so I don't know if they'll take a play out of San Francisco's playbook, but I think it's going to be a hard-nosed battle in the trenches. Whoever wins in the trenches wins the game.
Dan Quinn's, quote, total trust in Marquand Manuel forged over years coaching together. The confidence is evident between Falcons coach Dan Quinn and defensive coordinator Marquand Manuel, but built over several years in Seattle and Atlanta.
Well, I think you got to give both guys credit. I mean, Atlanta had a really shaky year, up and down, especially in the first half of the year. I didn't think they were going to even make the playoffs, and they did what they needed to do to get into that last seed. And the NFC is so strong that even the 6th seed, who is Atlanta, really is a favorite, like you said, on the road against the number 1 seed. But Dan Quinn, I worked with Dan Quinn in San Francisco. He was a D-line coach at the time, and he went to Seattle, was D-line coach, then D coordinator, and then moved to, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Got to the Super Bowl last year. Look, their defense, like I said, is playing their best football right now. They're tackling better than anybody, better than whatever they've done for the entire year. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. They're, not giving up touchdowns, and I think that especially with the experience for what they did last year, getting to the Super Bowl, they're a team that nobody wants to play, and they got nothing to lose being the 6th seed. So I think hats off right now because, like I said, they're playing their best football at the right time.
Bears have hired former Oregon head coach Mark Helfrich as their offensive coordinator.
They hired Nagy as
we'll get to that.
Okay.
Falcons wide receiver Julio Jones on his injury says, if I'm suited up, I'm going to play. Jay Ajayi says, playing in London, a quote, special opportunity. He's going to play in London next year and describes how he has seen the sport grow in the UK. Sidney Jones and Dannell Elberly questionable for the Falcons game. Let's see what else we got going on. Keenum is fired up for his first playoff start. Battery case closed against Eagles Bradham. Eagles linebacker Nigel Bradham appears to have met the conditions of his deferred education program, resulting in the battery case against him being closed.
Oh, good.
Let's see. Patriots wide receiver Hogan cleared to play versus Titans. He's was not on the team's injury report for the first time since injuring his shoulder October 29th. It seems like 8 years ago. And can play against the Titans on Saturday. Let's see. Brady not focusing on age gap with Mariota. The divisional playoff matchup between the New England Patriots and Tennessee Titans will set the NFL playoff record for biggest age gap between starting quarterbacks, but age isn't exactly top of mind for Tom Brady.
No.
A decade later, David Garrard's run against Steelers still resonates. Jaguars experienced playoff glory in Pittsburgh a decade ago. The key players in the let's see. Tom Brady says, quote, it's a great feeling to be in the playoffs as a 40-year-old to set to face 24-year-old Marcus Mariota. Chargers play Titans in London. We talked about that. Bengals hire former Cowboys online coach Frank Pollock. We talked about that. Let's see what else we got going on here this week. Steelers cornerback Artie Burns thinks he'll be able to play versus the Jaguars. He hyperextended his knee on Wednesday and did not participate in Thursday's practice, but he says he's ready to go. Bengals coordinator Terrell Austin promises defense that will, quote, play without fear. Cincinnati coach Marvin Lewis said the leader he chose for his defense is a coaching style that is, quote, very compatible with what we do.
I mean, we're in January, and they're talking about next year. I don't really think it means anything right now. They can't play any worse, I guess, than they did last year. So, honestly, I have no idea what's going on in Cincinnati. I have no idea how they run that organization, their operation there. I don't agree with it, and they continue to bring back the same people every year, with expecting a different outcome, and unfortunately it never changes.
Panthers named Turner offensive coordinator. The Carolina Panthers have named former NFL head coach Norv Turner their new offensive coordinator, the team announced Friday.
Norv Turner I don't know how to say this. He's a unique person, Norv Turner. Norv Turner is one of the nastiest people you'll ever meet in your life. Okay, Norv Turner is notorious for being the offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys through their Super Bowl victories in the early '90s. Okay, he spent 1 year with San Francisco when I was there in 2007. And that was actually the best year Alex Smith had with an offensive coordinator, because he had, I think, 8 different coordinators in his first 8 seasons or something like that. Norv Turner is not a nice guy, let's just put it that way, but he's had a couple, I think he's been a head coach with the Raiders, he's been a head coach with the Redskins, I think he's been a head coach with the Chargers yeah. Because the reason we lost Norv in 2008 was San Diego went 14-2, and then in August they decided to fire the coordinator for the Rams, the guy Wade Phillips. They fired him for some reason, and then Norv took the job, so he took over a team that was 14-2 at the time. Obviously, nothing happened there. But Norv the moral of the story is, look, you got 2 egos with Norv Turner and Cam Newton in Carolina. I don't know how that's going to work, but, Ron Rivera does weird things, and, Norv Turner is a guy who's, has great success in different places, but at the same time, he's also, left jobs during the year. I think where was he? Was he in Cleveland when he resigned, midway through the year or something like that?
Who, Turner?
Norv Turner, yeah.
As a head coach?
Or with Minnesota.
No.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
So Minnesota, as a coordinator, he left halfway through the year. So Norv, if you're not...
That was with Mike Zimmer, right?
Yeah, so... Norv is a guy where it's his way or there's no way, so it will be interesting to see. But he does have a lot of success.
Seahawks to make their London debut in 2018 versus the Raiders. The Seahawks will be designated the visitor next season in their first game overseas, preserving the 8 regular season games at CenturyLink Field.
Correct, and that's the main thing that I always refer to as a London game. A team like Seattle is never ever going to give up a home game. They'll play as a road team, even though technically both teams are in a different country. But the Raiders are forfeiting their home game.
Doug Baldwin praises Bevel and Cable, says Seahawks need to, quote, really buy in again. Criticism from the outside might have been constant, but Doug Baldwin is not about to pin the Seahawks offense's failings on its 2 departed coaches.
Well, I'm surprised that Bevel got fired. I think that Seattle's had a structured offense there. They've always been hindered by the offensive line. How it hasn't been consistent, and they really haven't done a lot, whether it's free agency or via the draft, to increase that offensive line presence. With that being said, I think he's done a great job developing Russell Wilson as a top-flight quarterback in the NFL. Doug Baldwin's really been going from an average player to someone who is a number 1 guy. I'm surprised. Cable, he's an interesting character. Offensive line coach, very respected within the league. Obviously he was a head coach with the Raiders when they went to the Super Bowl against John Gruden and then Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the bottom line is they want to go in a different direction. I don't know if this was. If I were to bet, these were not Pete Carroll decisions. He likes to hang on to his guys that he's worked with, and he'll always take his guys over anybody else. So we'll see where they go in the future. But as long as they have Russell Wilson, I think they can build a pretty good offense. I just think they need to improve that offensive line before anything else.
Titans say winning at New England isn't too big of a task for Marcus Mariota. The Titans are heavy underdogs versus the defending Super Bowl champs, but they say their quarterback has the kind of heart it takes to pull off the improbable.
Well, I think that a lot of things need to happen in order for Tennessee to win this game. I think last time I checked, it was 13.5 or 2 touchdown underdog, and going into a place like Foxborough on a Saturday night against Tom Brady and defending Super Bowl champions, and it's going to take a multiple different things. It's going to take 2 turnovers, maybe 3 by New England. Those turnovers have to be converted into at least 14 to 17 points. The defense is really going to have to step up and play the same. If they play the same defense they played in the second half against Kansas City, coming back from a 21-3 deficit, they're going to have to be effective. Mariota is going to be in a game that he's never been in before. He's a young quarterback, but at the same time, if he plays like he did in the second half against Kansas City, a lot of things need to happen in order for Tennessee to win this game. It's a 4-quarter game, and maybe they may get out to a hot start and be in the game for the first quarter or first half. But with that being said, they're really going to have to turn New England over. They're going to have to hold them to field goals. I think there's too many things that need to happen in order for Tennessee to win this game. Now, it's no knock against Mariota. But if Henry runs the same way he did against Kansas City, and we all know that New England's defense is not the best defense out there, in football anything can happen, but with Belichick and Brady at home in the playoffs, it's next to never that you're going to go in and win this game.
Detroit Lions appear in waiting game for their next head coach. It's been a week since the Lions interviewed anyone, which begs the question of whether their preferred head coach is still coaching in the playoffs. Supposedly, Matt Patricia prefers the Giants job, and right now I think the only landing place for what's-his-face, if he goes anywhere, to the Colts.
McDaniels,
yeah.
Yeah, I was listening on the radio, and that report that the Giants, Matt Patricia, I think that was just a headline that was incorrect as far as the writer. That was his opinion, not what the facts.
Oh.
With that being said, I'd be shocked. I mean, look, the Giants, they may go into a defensive direction and go with Patricia. I'd be shocked if he was given a job over McDaniels.
I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. They both stay with the Pats next year. They don't take a head coaching job. Bold prediction.
Okay, that's very bold. I think Patricia, if offered a job, he's going to take it. I think if Detroit offers him the job, he'll take it. Obviously, if the Giants offer the job, then I think the Giants offer the job to either one of them. Either one of them will take the Giants job. But there's been rumors that who was the rumor that you said was the Spagnuolo was going to get the job, or
no. Schwartz, that was weeks ago, but that's quieted down big time.
Yeah, exactly. There's that stupid rumor that Belichick's gonna leave New England, which I highly doubt. With that being said, Martha, they had a radio clip of her the other day on the radio, and
Martha,
she said, we're not moving in any direction with our head coach this year, and sure enough, what's his name was shown the door, Caldwell. So I think if Patricia leaves, that's not as big as McDaniels. If McDaniels leaves, then I think there's going to be a bigger void to fill on the offensive side.
They're thinking there's rumors that if McDaniels does leave, Belichick's going to grab Dable from Alabama.
From Alabama,
yeah.
Bring him back because I was looking at him because I was watching that game, unbelievable game on Monday night. I don't know if anyone watched it, but was one of the best national championship games I've seen in a while. And
that kicker, had they lost, he probably would have got murdered on campus.
I don't think he would have got murdered, but
I'm just saying.
That's a tough spot for a kid. I mean, it's a whole different game in college, and but Dable, ironically, he hasn't as all his years in New England. I think it's like 8 total. He's been there for the 5 Super Bowls.
Wow.
In 2000, he was there from 2001 to 2005.
Well, it's pretty good that streak stops.
And well, sure. And then he was there from 2013 until last year. So, but they won a national championship. But he has a lot of ties to Belichick. So, if God forbid McDaniels leaves, it would be a good fit.
There's an interesting stat out there. Since 2012, I think. Every time Alabama wins a national championship, LeBron wins a championship. Every time Alabama loses the national championship, LeBron loses in the playoffs.
And Cleveland's struggling right now. So
yeah. David Harris calls Todd Bowles, quote, perfect guy for Jets. David Harris has accepted his limited role for the Patriots in pursuit of a Super Bowl, and he applauded the Jets for extending Todd Bowles' contract.
David Harris?
He
applauds.
Applauds.
Well, I don't agree with David Harris. David Harris is a good football player, but I don't agree with him.
All right, here we go. Matt Patricia appears as a clear favorite in Giants coaching search. The Giants are said to be impressed by the Patriots defensive coordinator smarts and view him as the ultimate Bill Belichick protege.
Yeah, that I've heard the same type of reports, and like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the direction that they would go in. I would just think that McDaniels is more of a ready now coach, and to get the offense, which really is the driving force with I know that throughout Coughlin's time, even though Coughlin was a offensive head coach, the defense was the reason they won the Super Bowls. But with that being said, Patricia is a genius level. He's a what do they call it? He went to school.
Idiot savant.
No, but he was a
he was a nuclear engineer.
Yeah, physicist or whatever. So I think that if Patricia goes there, but there is also the story Mara, who is the owner of the team, is tight, the tightest owner with Goodell. And remember I told you that wearing that shirt at the end of the year, that clown shirt, whether if it's going to come back to bite him, so we'll see what happens.
Latest in Colts coaching search, Steve Wilkes withdraws from interviewing. Carolina Steve Wilkes, who worked with Colts GM Chris Ballard in Chicago, was originally scheduled to interview with Indianapolis on Thursday, so he's out. Brian Schottenheimer, John DeFilippo, among names to know as Seattle offensive coordinator. They're being looked at there. Let's see here. Jaguars coach Doug Marrone says there was, quote, no way linebacker Paul Posluszny would be out for Sunday's game versus the Steelers. Chuck Pagano's former assistants not waiting for Colts to name new coach. Joe Philbin, Tom McMahon, Jim Hostler, Jamal Singleton. Jim Hostler, yeah. And Greg Williams have already found new NFL jobs, and others are likely to follow. Steelers expect Brown to play against Jaguars. Let's see. Bills firing Rick Dennison as start of offseason makeover on offense. The Bills, who are likely to have a new starting quarterback next season, fired Rick Dennison after his offense ranked 29th. His offense finished ranked 29th in the NFL.
I think that's not there would be improvement needed there, but basically it's the quarterback and how well the quarterback can play.
Okay, let's see here. Bears staff takes shape with Mark Helfrich, who we talked about earlier, and Vic Fangio as coordinators.
Yep. He was with San Francisco when they made the runs.
Alex Smith in a Browns jersey.
That'd be a nightmare.
Let's see here. Let's see. Steelers offensive coordinator Todd Haley considers early Jaguars loss a watershed moment. NFL probing if Raiders violated the Rooney Rule. Obviously, we know that John Gruden was named head coach of the Raiders. Le'Veon Bell says if he's franchised again, he's going to retire because he wants to get paid. The Eagles are using the underdog status as their fuel. And I think Max Kellerman says Brady has been very ordinary. Max Kellerman explains why his theory about Tom Brady, quote, falling off a cliff is starting to come true.
Yeah, he's going to win the MVP. Max Kellerman's an idiot. Look, him and Shannon Sharp and all these stupid, jealous people. I hate using that word hater. I just don't like that word. It sounds too ghetto for me. But they truly just hate, and they don't give them credit for anything. And it's like, just step back and just relax. I mean, you have to go out of your way to go and, take down someone who has done everything right as a player and is the best player of all time and is in the middle of an MVP season, and you're going to come there and say he's falling off a cliff. Look, you always say about Adam Shine, they can say whatever they want. That's
right. Nobody's holding you accountable for the shit.
So it's,
speaking of someone stepping away, taking a step back, Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis is going to retire after 2018. So, let's go right on into last week. Last week, McLovin went 4-0 against the spread. I went 1-3, so he gained 3 games on me. So overall now, he is 123, 127, 10, and I am 120, 130, 10. Now, yes to anything that is cool, awesome. Corrected me last week, said that the standings were incorrect. He was absolutely correct on that. I gave McLovin 2 extra wins based on my stupid math. So McLovin was really 6 games behind.
I thought it was 4 games.
No, you were really 6 games out. We went over this before the show started. I gave you 2 extra wins, and I went through and I double checked. Yes to anything that is cool, awesome was correct.
So it was a 4.
You're 6 games. You were 6 games before the start of the week instead of 4. It was 4. It should have been 6.
2.
No.
I thought I lost by 2 games. You said.
No.
Okay.
No. So here, if we look at the stats here.
That's fine.
Let me just double check. 140. I had you at 142 and 82, right?
Yeah.
Then you had a 14-2 week,
yeah.
And I put you at 158. I added 16 games, not 14 games. 142 and 14 would be 156, which, yes to anything that is cool, awesome was correct. And then last week, the last week of the regular season, you went 10-6, so you really finished 166 and 90, not 168 and 90.
Okay.
And CV Gunn finished 172 and 84. So you were 4 games out because my math was way off. You're really 6 games out. But last week, CV Gunn went 1-3. You went 3-1. You gained 2 games. So now 4 games back going into this week. So let's go right on into the scores. Running backs coach Gary Brown is expected to return to the Cowboys, according to sources. He had interest from the Oakland Raiders and Houston Texans. Brown has been with the Cowboys since 2013 and helped DeMarco, Murray, and Ezekiel Elliott to earn Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors in 2013, 14, and 2016. He also oversaw Darren McFadden's 1,089-yard season in 2015. So, Saturday, tomorrow, the 13th, we have Atlanta, 10-6, 5-3 on the road, going into the Philadelphia. They're really 11-6, by the way. Going into Philly, 13-3, 7-1 at home. Atlanta's favored by 3 on the road. So, against the spread, who do you got?
Tomorrow's going to be an unbelievable day of football, and then 2 unbelievable games.
Hopefully we're home in time for I really want to see the Eagles game. I mean, yeah, they're both games. 4:35, yeah?
Yeah, we'll be on. Well, and I know
you'll be on.
I am going to take Philadelphia +3.
Ooh.
Because it's a home game, and Philly's they're playing the underdog role as the number 1 seed. And I think the spread has everything to do with Nick Foles as a quarterback, plus Atlanta coming off such a big win on the road. Now, I would not be shocked if Atlanta wins this game. I would not be shocked if Philadelphia wins. Look, this is going to be a tight game both ways, but and this is the type of game where I'm always going to take the underdog, especially if they're the underdog at home. So I'm taking Philly plus.
I'm going to take Atlanta -3, and the only reason I'm doing that is because the only way I see Philadelphia winning this game, one is more realistic than the other. The one that is realistic is the Eagles' defense intercepts Matt Ryan, causes turnovers deep in Atlanta territory somehow, and they end up winning that way. The unrealistic, but still kind of realistic option is Nick Foles all of a sudden performs like he did his first game this season and when he was with the Eagles prior. Having said all that, I don't see Philadelphia winning only because of their quarterback. Next game, Tennessee 9-7, technically 10-7, 3-5 on the road, technically 4-5 on the road. Going up against the Pats, 13-3, 6-2 at home. Pats are favored by 13.5. Who do you got?
I'm going to take Tennessee plus the points.
Okay, I am too.
It's a lot of points.
Yep, I agree. Next up, Sunday the 14th, we have Jacksonville 10-6, technically 11-6, 4-4 on the road, going into Pittsburgh to face the 13-3 Steelers, who are 6-2 at home. Pittsburgh favored by 7.
Jacksonville plus the points.
I agree. And then last game at 4:40 p.m. we have the New Orleans Saints 12-5.
Yeah.
They went to Los Angeles, right? Yeah, 5-4 on the road.
No, the Saints played at home.
Oh, the Saints played at home against two.
Carolina.
Oh yeah, I'm an idiot. So Saints 12-5, 4-4 on the road, going up against Minnesota 13-3, 7-1 at home. Minnesota favored by 5.
You know what? I went 4 last week. All dogs. Went 4-0. I've got 3 already. All dogs. I'm going to stay with the dogs and give me the Saints plus 5.
Yeah, I'm taking Saints plus 5 also. So the only game we differ on is the Atlanta-Philly game. Everything else is the same. Yeah. And then for the picks with CB Gunn, who you got? Atlanta-Philly.
Philly.
All right. Tennessee, New England, obviously New England, right? Yeah. Yep. All right. Jacksonville, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
And New Orleans, Minnesota.
I'm going to go out. I'm going to do a upset special and pick New Orleans.
Yeah, I think New Orleans. Is going to win. I think New Orleans is going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well,
I think it's going to be New Orleans, Atlanta, and New Orleans is going to beat Atlanta and go to the Super Bowl.
They'd have a home game.
They would. Sure, if they beat Minnesota, they'll have a home game. Yeah. Well, no, they won't. The only way. If what I say correct. Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
All right. See ya.